I rented the same flat for 12 years and never hung a single family photograph. Not because the walls were weak, not because the landlord refused, because we kept saying the same sentence. 6 months, maybe 1 year. We are not staying long. The boxes arrived with us and some of them never opened. The drill I planned to buy stayed on a shopping list for more than a decade. Every January, another rent letter slipped under the door. Every January, I complained. Then I paid. I spent years telling the story in which my landlord was building his future with my money. That story was not completely wrong, but it was incomplete. The most expensive thing I rented was not the flat. It was the word temporary. When we first moved in, the place felt like a waiting room. The sofa was good enough for now. The curtains were good enough for now. The neighborhood was not worth learning because we might leave. I saved property listings on my phone and told myself I was researching. Mostly, I was postponing a decision. The postponement looked harmless because it happened 1 month at a time. Then one night I opened my banking history and added every rent payment together. 12 years. The total did not look like a number. It looked like an apartment. For a few minutes, I felt sick. I imagined handing that money to a bank instead. I imagined keys in my own hand. I imagined the landlord checking his balance while I carried boxes through another year. That was the easy version of the calculation. The honest version took longer. Owning would not have meant replacing rent with an equal mortgage payment. It would have meant a deposit, legal costs, maintenance, insurance, taxes, repairs, financing costs, furniture bought for rooms we did not yet need. It would also have meant tying our lives to one place during years when work, family, and opportunity were still changing. Rent had purchased something real: flexibility. But flexibility has value only when you use it. We did not move for a better job. We did not try a different city. We did not invest the difference consistently. We paid for mobility and then lived as if we were unable to move. That was the temporary tax. It never appeared on a receipt, but it collected from every decision we delayed. I finally asked my landlord to meet me. I expected a difficult conversation. Instead, he arrived with a folder. Inside were loan statements, repair invoices, months when the flat had once been empty, and notes about every late-night call when a pipe broke or the electricity failed. His property was an asset, but it was not effortless. The bank collected from him before I paid him. Repairs did not care whether his month had gone well. He was still building ownership. But he was also carrying risk that I had never priced. Seeing his side of the ledger did not make my rent cheaper. It made my thinking more accurate. Renting was not the mistake. Drifting was. So we stopped asking the question that had trapped us. Should we rent or should we buy? We asked better questions. How long do we genuinely expect to remain in this city? What would ownership cost after financing, maintenance, taxes, and transaction costs? What return would our deposit earn if it stayed invested? How much is mobility actually worth to our careers and family? If renting is cheaper, are we truly investing the difference or merely spending it? The answers did not lead us where I expected. We decided to keep renting. But this time, renting became a deliberate strategy instead of a delayed decision. The first change was automatic. On the same day the rent left our account, a second transfer moved into investments. Not at the end of the month. Not if something remained. On rent day. If we wanted to claim that renting allowed us to invest the difference had to become visible money. The second change was negotiation. When the next January letter arrived, I did not treat it as a verdict. I replied with our payment history, the condition of the flat, comparable rents nearby, and an offer. A longer lease in exchange for a smaller increase. The landlord accepted. The cheapest rent increase I ever received was the one I finally discussed. The third change had nothing to do with finance. I bought the drill. We opened the remaining boxes. We learned our neighbors' names. We replaced the temporary curtains. We printed the family photographs that had lived inside our phones for years. Then I drilled into a wall I did not own. That small hole felt more permanent than 12 years of payments. Because permanence is not always a deed. Sometimes it is a decision to live where you are. I still believe ownership can be powerful. A home can create stability, forced saving, protection from future rent increases, and an asset a family can carry forward. But buying from shame is not a financial plan. Neither is renting while promising yourself that your real life begins later. The right choice depends on the city, the price, the financing, the time horizon, the maintenance burden, the opportunity cost, and the life you actually intend to live. The spreadsheet matters. So does the story you are telling yourself. If you rent, use the flexibility, negotiate the lease, build the investment transfer, treat the home with enough care to let your life happen inside it. If you buy, price the full cost, keep reserves for repairs. Do not let the keys convince you that every sacrifice was automatically wise. And if you have been living temporarily for years, ask yourself one honest question. What decision am I postponing because I refuse to admit that this is my life right now? For 12 years, I thought my landlord was the person charging me. He was not. The most expensive landlord was temporary. It collected opportunities, comfort, belonging, and time without ever signing a contract. The family photographs are on the wall now. The wall still belongs to another man. The life in front of it belongs to us. This is wealth mechanics. Good night.